Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a while since I posted a video and I apologize. I know I also mentioned in my last video that things have been kind of crazy and there was some unexpected things going on that I would be talking about, and now is that time. As you can see by the title and my thumbnail, I am pregnant, and so this is my official pregnancy announcement on YouTube, and I'm also going to have this be my first pregnancy update. So a lot has happened. I'm almost 9 weeks pregnant. My weeks switch over on Fridays. As of now, going off of my last cycle, I believe that is going to be my official due date. We'll see as time goes on and I have more ultrasounds and things and the time gets closer. I will be having a 4th C-section, so we'll see how closely they take the measurements of the baby, because with my first ultrasound the baby was measuring 3 days ahead, but usually they don't decide to move your date unless your baby's measuring like a week or more over what your last cycle would say. So I'm pretty sure that I'm safe to say that my weeks will be switching over on Fridays, and this Friday I would be 9 weeks pregnant, and it is Wednesday now. So that is how far along I am. I know I'm still pretty early, but it has been an emotional roller coaster. And it's kind of crazy for me to think too that I'm so close to 9 weeks, and then like these weeks, they go by so fast. And so then before I know it, I'm gonna be 10 weeks and I'll be in the double digits, which is just crazy to think about. I feel like when I had my first pregnancy, I felt like it lasted the 9 months. I felt like I was pregnant for 9 months. But with my other pregnancies, after having a child or children to take care of, the pregnancies just seem to fly by so fast. So I feel like the same thing's probably going to happen with this one. And I hope that it can fly by without having constant concerns. So far, the pregnancy has been an emotional roller coaster. And I'm gonna explain that as I go on. I wanted to make an update a little bit sooner, about a week ago, but it didn't happen. There's just been too much going on, and it's hard for me to find a quiet time to be able to sit down and really talk anyway. Cooper's actually sleeping right now on the couch right beside me as I'm filming this, and my other two are playing downstairs in the basement at the time being. So it's a good time for me to film, but having this opportunity doesn't come often, and that's why I haven't already done a pregnancy update. I'm just gonna warn you, this is probably going to be one of my longer updates, if not my longest one of this pregnancy, because of how much I have to catch up on. So I'm just gonna jump into it now. So Chris and I found out that I was expecting when I was only about 3 weeks pregnant. I was very early. I took a test about a week before my missed cycle, and the reason I did that is because I was having symptoms already. My very first one was that my chest was sore and it was growing, and that seemed just totally off to me, because obviously my chest isn't going to be growing unless I am pregnant. Now we have had 3 prior miscarriages, and our last miscarriage was in January of this year. And we have been hopeful for a baby since we miscarried. We were hopeful for a baby a couple months before we conceived the baby that we lost in January, and then continued to be hopeful for another baby, a rainbow baby, after. And a rainbow baby, if you don't know, that's what they call a baby after a miscarriage. So we were hopeful to conceive and have a healthy baby since January. I had gotten my cycle right away again, and everything had gone back to normal. There was no problems with my body regulating again, and so we had been hopeful that maybe we would conceive and have a healthy baby soon. Fast forward 7 months, we conceived, and we were very grateful. It was a shock to us at that point because we really didn't know. You know, we were just leaving it up to God. We weren't doing anything to, how do I properly say this? We weren't doing anything to try to encourage pregnancy other than just not preventing. So I wasn't tracking ovulation. I wasn't going to a fertility specialist. I didn't see the doctor. There was nothing that we added to our lives in order to try to make our efforts to conceive more likely to happen. So we were just leaving it totally up to God. We've had those 3 heartbreaking miscarriages, which are so hard. But I'm so grateful to know that those 3 little ones are up with God, and I will meet them someday. So that definitely warms my heart. And we also have 3 precious little boys. I have a 7-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old that's about to turn 3 next month. So being that we have 3 boys, both Chris and I don't feel like our family is complete yet. That's just the best way that I could describe it. And that's why we were hopeful that maybe we would have another baby. Now, we weren't on the field of like, we have to have another baby. We have to add to our family. If this doesn't happen, we're going to do everything in our power to try to add to our family. It was more like, we would love to add to our family if that's what God has in store for us, and we're just along for the ride. We'll just see, will that be through me conceiving again? Will that be through adoption? We didn't know, but we were just open to just, okay, God, what is it that you have for us? And then when we conceived this baby, like I said, it was kind of a shock because it had been a little while, and I know that that's nothing compared to how long some people wait to conceive, but for us, that was out of the ordinary. We had conceived very quickly every other time that we've conceived. So yeah, anyways, we're just to get to the point of saying that we're very excited for this little baby, and we're very, very grateful. And I'm so thankful to say that right as of now, and my last visit to the doctor that was just a little bit ago, the baby is very healthy and strong, and everything is looking really good with the baby. And so we are so, so grateful for that. So going from that, like I said, we did find out early, and then I waited about a week because we found out so early to call my OB, because I wanted to make sure I had officially missed my cycle and before I called my doctor. So I called my doctor, and she said she would like me to go in for blood work because of my past history for miscarriages. And so I think my first blood draw was when I was around 4 weeks pregnant. My numbers came back really good. I had high HCG, I had a good number in progesterone, and they were really happy with everything. But the thing that they want to see the most, at least everything that I've heard, now I don't know if some doctors wait longer than 48 hours, but for my doctor anyway, they pretty much want you to hit like going for blood work 48 hours right on the money. Like every other day they want you going in for blood work. I've heard that some women go like every 3 or 4 days or once a week. My doctor has had me go every other day. So like I said, I don't know if that's protocol everywhere, but that's how my doctor was doing things. And so I was going every other day for blood work. I had 4 scripts to go for blood work. And when my second round of results came in, they told me that they weren't 100% happy with my numbers, that they were good and that they were rising and they were high, but it was 10% away from doubling. So it didn't quite double my HCG, that is. And so because of that, my doctor took the utmost precaution, which I was not expecting, and she said, I want you to get an ultrasound as soon as possible. So I ended up going to a radiology center to have an ultrasound done, which if you've never gone to a radiology center to have an ultrasound done, now I guess I can't speak for everywhere because I've only been to one radiology center to have an ultrasound done, but where I went, it was much less personal of an experience. Every time that I've gone to my OB to have an ultrasound done, the ultrasound techs are very personal, and you get to see the baby, you get to see your own screen, they talk to you. It's a fun, exciting experience. Or at least if it's not fun and exciting because they have bad news to tell you, you do know that right away as you are having the ultrasound. And so you know what your results are right then, right there. You are able to see your baby or whatever is on the screen. And in the radiology center, you can't see the baby. You have no screen to look at. It's just dark in the room and you can stare at the ceiling, and that's about all you can do. They don't talk to you. They don't tell you any information. They don't let you know if they see your baby, and if they see a heartbeat, they won't tell you anything. So it's a nerve-wracking experience. So when I went in for that ultrasound, my feelings were honestly conflicted, because at one end, I really did feel that I wasn't convinced that I was going to get terrible news at that ultrasound, because the way that my numbers looked and how high my numbers were, even though they didn't quite double, and just this feeling I feel like that God gave me in my heart, I felt like I could potentially get good news at that appointment. But I was definitely scared though. I was definitely fearful. The last time I had been for an ultrasound in that radiology center was when I miscarried in January, and I did not get good news. So it was definitely nerve-wracking, and it had my anxiety spiked, especially laying there not being able to know what was going on. But I just laid there and prayed the whole time, and thankfully I got great news. The baby, going off of my last cycle, the baby should have been measuring 5 weeks and 3 days, but the baby was measuring 5 weeks and 6 days, and they could see the heartbeat. They saw the baby, they saw the heartbeat. Absolutely no abnormalities were found, and it was just great news. So I was ecstatic, my doctor was ecstatic, and at that point they said, okay, I don't care what your HCG levels are, though I did have my third blood draw already drawn before I got my second results. So I already had that done. So they had a third level of HCG, and it did double that time from the second time. So they were happy with it. Still high number, doing what it was supposed to be doing. But the one thing that they did tell me they wanted me to have drawn again was my progesterone. So I had my progesterone drawn again for a 4th time, I believe it was at that point. And my number was good. They were happy with it. It had gone up, and they were happy with where it was at. They said, you're all good, you're all set, your ultrasound looks great, your progesterone level's good. We're gonna leave you alone now. Your first appointment is on September 14th. We'll see you then. You know, congratulations. Well then, fast forward a few days, Labor Day weekend comes, and Saturday we announced our pregnancy to all of our friends and family that we had not yet told, and we were super excited to announce. We were feeling really good with the news that we had gotten, and just knowing that they were able to find the heartbeat and see the baby and all of that when the baby was not even quite 6 weeks along yet. Like, that was just really great news, because even if you do have a healthy pregnancy, seeing a heartbeat before like 6.5, 7 weeks is not something like that always happens. You don't always see the heartbeat that early. And so we were so grateful for the news, and we were just so excited to share the news that we were pregnant. Like I said, Chris and I and the boys, our family, our whole family is just so excited for this new addition to our family. So we got so much love and support, and we were so happy. And then the very next day, Sunday morning, I got up, I did my pregnancy safe workout, and I was cooking breakfast, going about my normal daily routine, and I felt a gush. My heart sank. I didn't know what that meant. At first, I thought maybe, you know, this kind of TMI, but I thought maybe I just peed myself a little bit. Because I didn't have any cramping or pain or anything with it. So I didn't really have a reason to believe it was blood at that point, because like I said, there was no pain and there was no cramping leading up to that point or anything like that. But I went to the bathroom and it was bright red blood. So I just kind of sat there for a minute, and before I had even gone into the bathroom, I just said, you know what, no matter what, I trust you, God. And I started to have tears in my eyes, because I didn't know what I was about to see. I didn't know what it was going to mean. And I knew that at that point, this could be the first signs of another miscarriage. And so I was feeling very emotional, and sure enough, it was blood. And I kind of freaked out for a little bit, and I told Chris, I was like, I don't know what we should do. I don't know if we should try to call somebody from the church, because we were getting ready to go to church that morning. And I'm like, I don't know if we should see if we can drop them off at their children's church class and then go to the emergency room or what, because I was figuring I was going to need to go to the emergency room because I have a negative blood type, and generally when I'm having bleeding, I need to have a shot to combat that, to make sure that my blood and the baby's blood aren't mixing. And so I told Chris privately. I didn't want to tell the kids. I didn't want to scare them. And we called the doctor on call together. And she said, if the bleeding goes down, you're fine to wait until Tuesday to get an appointment, because they were closed on Monday for Labor Day. She said, if you're having lots of cramping, you're in a lot of pain, or it picks up and you're like bleeding a lot, there's no other option for you but then to go to the emergency room. And so we waited it out, and thankfully, thank God, he answered my prayers that I was able to make it to Tuesday. So we were able to make it to Tuesday. I didn't know what was going to happen at that appointment, but I called my doctor as soon as they opened. They squeezed me in. I went in, and thank God we got great news again. The baby was measuring good, the heart rate was strong, and I was so excited for that news. So I had my ultrasound, and then I waited a while, and I saw the doctor, and she said that what they found on the ultrasound was a small pocket of blood that was located near the baby. Now, it's not where the baby is, but like beside where the baby is, I guess. And I don't know what the technical term is for this. I had never personally experienced this in another pregnancy before, and I'd never talked to anybody who had experienced it either. So my knowledge on this and my understanding about it is not very much. I probably don't understand a lot more than you would just hearing about it if you had never heard about it before. But what she told me is that it's actually a fairly common thing that happens to quite a few women in the first trimester, and that almost all the time it just absorbs back into the body and there's no problem. However, she said that when this happens, they watch you closely, and they will give you an ultrasound at each visit that you have, and see you every few weeks, every like 2 to 3 weeks, or 1 to 3 weeks, however urgent your doctor feels that it is that you be seen. And they check it and make sure that it's not growing. So that's the one concern with it, is that it could potentially grow, and that wouldn't be good. I don't know what would happen if it was growing, what they would do. I'm just hoping and praying that I don't ever need to figure that out. I don't ever need to know that information. So I have my next appointment scheduled for October 2nd, which I'm gonna have another ultrasound to check on everything. But through this point, the baby, have I had 3 ultrasounds already? Yeah, I've had 3 ultrasounds, and the baby has showed growth and a healthy, good heart rate every ultrasound that I've had. So that is really great news, the best news that we could get, and I'm so happy and grateful for that. Now I am praying and praying and praying that God will bless me and us with the news at our next appointment on October 2nd, that the pocket has absorbed and that we don't have to worry about that anymore. Now, even if that doesn't happen, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to trust God or anything like that. It would just mean so much and be such a sigh of relief if we could not have that hanging over our heads anymore. But above all else, I trust God, and I believe that He has a plan, and He will get us through no matter what the news is the next time that we're at the doctor's. So anyways, that is my pregnancy up until this point, except for one thing I almost forgot to mention, but I just remembered. So the last thing that she did ask me to do when I was at that appointment when I was at my second ultrasound appointment after I had the initial gush of blood. She said, I want to check your progesterone level. I got the RH shot for because I have the negative blood type. And then she said, I want to check your progesterone level again because I want to make sure that it's not too low. She said, because you've had a past history of miscarriage, I don't want to mess around. If your progesterone isn't high enough, I really want to put you on progesterone medicine to be on the safe side. So I did have that drawn. I went and got more blood drawn again. And she said that the number wasn't worrisome low, but that she would offer me progesterone if I wanted to take it. So basically it was my decision if I wanted to take it or not. So I decided to go ahead and take the progesterone because I figured I wanted to be on the safe side. And Chris and I both agreed, my husband and I both agreed that that would be a good idea and that was what was best. And our doctor agreed as well that that was a good move to take, because it wouldn't do anything but help the pregnancy be healthier. And why wouldn't you want to help your baby if you can? You know, it's one of those things where I'm just so grateful that you can take progesterone. Like, if your body is lacking it in any way, you can take it. And so that's just the way I look at it, is that it's a blessing and I'm grateful that I am able to take it. So I am on progesterone. And now I'm looking at my phone because I have my pregnancy notes in here. Now I'm gonna jump into my symptoms. I know this video has already been so long and I apologize, but there's just so much to catch up on. The next video should not be near as long. But so just going off of my symptoms a little bit, my very first craving that I had was for pizza, and I have continued to love pizza. I love pizza. Just cheese pizza is all I need. I don't need anything on it but cheese. And I am a happy camper. It's just been so comforting. Now it's not like to the point where I'm like, I'm eating the whole pizza. I'll have one, maybe 2 slices when I'm eating it for a meal, but it's just something that has tasted just so good to me. It has set well with my stomach, which is something that's very nice to find when you're feeling nauseous, which is another thing that I have been feeling, is very nauseous, and my nausea comes in waves. I never quite know. Well, okay, so I can pretty much always expect it when I wake up in the morning. I have been needing to eat frequently throughout the day, smaller meals or snacks, whatever you want to call it, throughout the day, because if my stomach gets like even close to empty, that nausea will kick in and I am like having a really hard time functioning. So eating smaller amounts more frequently throughout the day has really helped. It doesn't make the nausea totally go away, but it helps a lot. And when I wake up first thing in the morning, because my stomach is the most empty that it is, I'm struggling to drink my water and hydrate and to get a little bit of something in me. Lately I've been having just a little cup of applesauce, and that helps. It sits well in my stomach and it helps just coat my stomach just enough that I can kind of like be more like a human. So that's what I have been doing in the mornings to help with that. Being super hydrated and eating small amounts more frequently, like I said, is what has really helped me. Now at night, nausea seems to kick into high gear for me, and I really wish it wouldn't, because it can make it very difficult for me to sleep. But that is just, I don't know, it really likes to hit me at night for whatever reason. And what was the other thing I was gonna mention? Oh, exhaustion. That was one of the very first symptoms that I had, along with my chest being sore, was that I was totally flatline exhausted, couldn't keep my eyes open. Like, I'm convinced that had I been able to sleep from week 3 of my pregnancy to week 7 of my pregnancy, like just sleep that whole time, that I would have been able to. Like, I could fall asleep at the drop of a dime. I was so tired all day long. It was so hard for me to function because I was just so stinking tired all the time. Now that has lifted a little bit. I still get really tired and I still feel like I could definitely use a nap in the middle of the day. But I've also been more restless, so it's been tougher for me to sleep. And then I'm trying to think, I just have a couple more things to mention. One thing that's funny is that, so my number one craving this pregnancy, like I said, would definitely be pizza. And then just like comforting food. I really, like Chick-fil-A. I was really craving Chick-fil-A the other day, and I got a Chick-fil-A sandwich and it was just so good, but it's always so good. So just like things that are comforting, like sandwiches, carbs. I know not like the healthiest thing, but just that is what, you know, sits the best with me as of right now. But one funny thing that I have been totally turned off to is we got this teriyaki grilled chicken. It was frozen from Trader Joe's, and we got it, and I made it like before we had found out that I was pregnant. We ate it. I thought it was really good. And so we bought another bag for the next week. Well, then I found out, then you know, the pregnancy stuff started to kick in, that nausea and food aversion type stuff. And I, like, every time I open the freezer and I see that bag of grilled chicken, I want to throw it out. Like the Chinese grilled teriyaki chicken, I want to throw it out because it makes me want to throw up. Like, I don't know what it is about it. Like I said, I quite enjoyed it before pregnancy, but just the thought of it, I just, like, I can't. It just grosses me out. It's grossing me out right now. So that's a funny, excuse me, food aversion. And I've had some other ones. Oh my gosh, handling raw meat is extremely difficult for me right now. I had Chris handle the raw meat for dinner last night. I mixed up the sauce and everything and got it all ready for him. And I was like, if you can like trim the meat and put it in the oven for me, I would be forever grateful. And thankfully he did. He doesn't have a problem with that, so that is good. And I think I'm going to be using his help with that quite a bit, because the thought of raw meat, the sight of it, the smell of it, touching it, I just can't. Like, I just can't. So I think that's everything that I have to update on. I know this is probably like super long and I apologize, but I hope that you all enjoyed. If you have any questions for me, anything that you want me to touch on in my next update, let me know. If you're pregnant and expecting too, congratulations, and I will see you guys in the next video.